What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you are well. My name is Mark, and today we're checking out some r/am I the butthole. If you'd like to skip the initial waffle, timestamps are always in the description and along the timeline below, so please feel free to use them. But if you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. As always, it truly helps out our channel, and I can never express that enough. And with that being said, let's just crack straight on with today's stories. Much love, guys. Now this first story comes from Asking If I Am. Am I the arsehole for calling my ex-wife delusional because of a ridiculous request? My son has a best friend, Adrian, who he's been very close to since 6th grade. Both boys are 16. Adrian does not have the best home life. Father is long gone and his mother is a regular drug user who's gone majority of the time. Back then, he'd be over all the time for dinner and we'd always made sure he had food to take home with him. The situation got worse when schools decided to switch to online, and so I invited him to move in with me April of last year. He's always been a good kid, so having him here is a delight. My son loves that his best friend practically lives with us now, and we've agreed that this can remain permanent until he moves out if that's what he'd like. With Adrian here, my son has wanted to stay here more and more. My ex-wife and I have joint custody. 1 week with her, then the next with me. He's begged my ex a few times to let him stay here a few extra days, and sometimes she agrees. But I can tell this bothers her, so I've told my son he needs to spend more time with his mum too. And Adrian will be here when he comes back. Besides, it's not like they can't chat or see each other for a whole week. My son has started asking if it would be possible to stay here during the week, and then go with his mum weekends. My ex was told about this and she's pissed at me. Firstly, she accused me of not only inviting Adrian to move in with me to make my son want to stay there more, and second, she asked that I have Adrian move back to his mum's because it's unfair to use him as an advantage. Just the ridiculousness of it all made me laugh over the phone because no, I'm not sending a kid back to their drug addict mother who doesn't even care that he's not there right now. I called her delusional for even thinking that this was done to get some sort of brownie points from my son to make him want to stay here. And she's just plain crazy if she thinks I'd go along with a request like that. So now I'm being called a jackass for insulting her when she has every right to feel that I'm using this against her. I don't see how, but that's her point of view. She's definitely mad at me over it, and so I'd like to know if calling her names was taking things too far. Edit, the reason why my ex doesn't invite Adrian over is because they don't have space. She has her husband and 3 other stepkids living there. My son's asked before, but no has always been the answer. Absolutely not the arsehole in this situation, and I think the ex-wife should be looking at that her son has a fantastic father who has empathy for other people to look after children that's not even his in such a way. And is a fantastic role model for her son to be looking up to and is setting fantastic examples. And that's the way I can only see this. So absolutely not the arsehole in this situation to me. But Pastor Ad 40 says not the arsehole. His mother won't take care of him. She wants you to abandon him just for her own pleasure. That's terrible. You're right, she is being delusional. You sound like a great person, OP. And KL says, not the arsehole, your ex has issues if A, she can't accept her son is this close to a friend, and B, if she's assuming kindness is manipulation. I see why she is your ex. You're being a good man to Adrian, don't let her mess that up. And FFL says, not the arsehole, she is delusional, it is a ridiculous request. Maybe you could have rejected her a little nicer at first. Understand that you probably would feel hurt if your son wanted to spend less and less time with you too. That's a good point. While her feelings are misguided, they are understandable. However, asking to send a kid back to a bad home when you have no inclination to do so, just so that she feels you don't have an advantage, is absolutely absurd. Is there any reason why Adrian can't go over to her house sometimes too? And we'll have one more from Herbivorous Carnivore saying, not the arsehole, your son is old enough that the courts will take his preferences strongly into consideration when it comes to which parent he wants to live with. Do you have any guardianship papers or the like for Adrian? On the off chance anything goes wrong. I don't know if you'll be able to get him medical treatment. And now we'll move on to another story. And this story is from Piano Boy 12345. Am I the arsehole for embarrassing my parents by putting out a tip jar? Before the world went to shit, my parents loved hosting big parties. They'd ask me to play piano during these parties and usually I'd oblige. I've been playing piano since I was 5 and I've competed at the state and national levels. They recently resumed hosting parties now that a lot of their friends have been vaccinated. Usually I come downstairs, play a few Liszt and Chopin pieces, and I probably butcher those names, and head back upstairs to my room because there's no one my age at these parties. Before the most recent party, I got an idea of putting a tip jar with a sign saying Piano Boy 12345's College Fund, along with my Cash App, Venmo and PayPal. I did this because I'm going to college in the fall and want some extra spending money. My parents are pretty well off and most of their friends are also well off, so I ended up earning almost $1,000 that night. My mum came up to me after the party was over and said I embarrassed her and my dad because the sign suggested that they're going to have trouble paying for my college. And there was a slight edit afterwards which said, well, I had a talk with my parents and they said I should have 1, ran the tip jar idea by them first, and 2, changed the wording on the sign. Thank you to all the commenters who left suggestions. They're not going to cut me off as some have suggested, and for those who told me to get a real job, I'll be teaching the 8-year-old son of one of the party guests. And we'll start off with Krista's here saying you're the arsehole because hidden up party guests in your own home is tacky. If you want to get paid, do gigs, then get yourself hired to play gigs. And Bummerfly says, lol, this is some major rich kid shit. You're the arsehole, donate that money to kids who actually can't afford college. And Historical Piglet 86 says you're the arsehole for claiming it's a college fund when you aren't paying for college, as per your responses. Just call it a tip jar. And Eats Honey says you're the arsehole. From what you said, your parents didn't object to the tip jar. They objected to the sign. You know, the sign that's saying you needed money to pay for college when you're not paying for college. And Particular Toe 7849 says that you're the arsehole for several reasons. 1, it's a free party at your house, so their guests shouldn't have felt pressure to pay for anything. You know the label college fund on the tip jar would make them sympathise for you. 2, you have no intention of using it for college. 3, you commented that you got a half ride that your parents are paying for the other half, so why embarrass them in front of their guests, painting them out that they have no money to send their kid to college? This would be different if they were not rich, but it's common knowledge that rich people can be very judgmental and classist, so this made your parents look bad. But even if you weren't rich, it would look bad because it's a free party. 4, another commenter mentioned this, but if you need money so bad and you love playing piano, then get a gig doing just that. You could have easily put up a sign or made an announcement offering piano classes to the children of guests, or offering to play for future events and what rates would be, etc. However, if they're making you play for hours straight at these parties, especially if you pleaded and protested against doing so, then I'd say not the arsehole. Now what are your thoughts on this one? And we'll move on to the next story. And our next story is from Loco Locomotive 1197. Would I be the arsehole if I tell my landlord that I'm not her kid and shouldn't be treated as such? I, 23 female, have just moved to a new apartment with my 3 cats. It's a small 1-bedroom apartment and honestly all that I would ever need. My 3 cats, one of them is a foster kitten, I'm planning to give away in a couple of months, have their little box in the main living area. I admit I was super down and had a depressive episode for a couple of weeks and have neglected cleaning the litter box as often as I should. When I was going to pay my landlord my electricity and water bill, they're separate from my rent, I came across his wife who always calls me the girl with the cats. She then screamed at me how they could smell the litter in the hallway outside my door and that I shouldn't have cats if I don't know how to take care of them. She also threatened to kick me out if this is how I'm going to live there. To be honest, I'm not very confrontational and was just staring at her in disbelief as she yelled at me. She continued screaming as she walked away to their car and I could hear her inside the apartment building from outside the street. I paid my bills and left, but I'm super mad at myself for not responding and just standing there like an idiot. I'm also angry at her for treating me as if I'm a kid and her kid at that, not as an adult tenant renting out one of their rooms. I can kinda see why she's mad about the smell, but she could have talked to me in a civil manner. Would I be the arsehole if I confront her about my landlord's wife's treatment of me, even when it was sort of my fault in the first place? P.S. I keep mentioning the phrase like her child because in our country and culture, treating children like shit and like they're not their own people is the norm. My own mother has treated me the same way. There's also no tenant laws and rights here locally, and most rental places are owned by private individuals who don't sign contracts at all and just have verbal agreements with their tenants. So I worry that confronting her would lead to nothing but trouble, since nothing would protect me from getting kicked out. And we'll start straight away with Otherwise Table 1935 saying you're the arsehole for neglecting your pets. It's her building and her right to complain about the neglect in the building. If you don't like her behaviour, move. And Lolo Ann says, you're the arsehole. Depression is tough, I get it, but not cleaning out the litter box regularly is bad for you, bad for the cats and bad for anyone nearby, including your landlord. You're feeling upset because she's right and your defences are up. She shouldn't have yelled at you. That was bad communication and immature behaviour on her part. But she wasn't treating you like anyone's child. She was treating you like you're a bad tenant. And Historical Piglet 86 says, you're the arsehole. If you can smell the cat litter in the hallway, you're affecting other people. Clean up after your pets, they deserve better. If you feel like you were treated like a child, maybe it's because you were acting like a child. No one should have to tell you to clean up after your pets. And Creeblim says, you're the arsehole. You wouldn't want to piss and shit in a filled up toilet, but you're forcing 3 cats to. Ammonia is bad for you, like so incredibly bad. She was treating you like a tenant. You're causing that smell to permeate out into the halls. That's neglect, not just falling behind on the chores. And Abazaba says, you're the arsehole. If they can smell it in the hall, you're neglecting your pets. And we have one more from Am I the Arsehole Boot Beep 12 saying, you're the arsehole. I have a cat, a full-time job, take online classes at night and sometimes suffer from depression. I can still clean my cat boxes every day and twice a day if I can. Not cleaning it is the equivalent of not flushing for a day or two. It's gross and abusive to your cats, and your landlady has every right to be pissed. Not only because of the smell and potential damage to the building, but because you literally are neglecting your pets. And now we'll move on to the next story. And this story is from a throwaway account. Am I the arsehole for refusing to attend a wedding when my husband is not welcome there? My 30 female friend, 31 female, is getting married in August. She invited me and my husband to the wedding already in October when she got engaged. I was asked to be her maid of honour. She didn't have the date immediately as she wasn't sure how it would be with COVID, and now she has the date and she has told me she thinks it would be better if my husband didn't come. I asked her why and she didn't want to tell me at first, but then she said it is because he is shorter than me and it would look weird on pictures. He is around 165 centimeters, 5 feet 4 inches, while I have 166 centimeters, 5 feet 5.3 inches. I think the difference is not that big. I offered I wouldn't wear heels, but she said I must wear them because I'm the maid of honor and bridesmaids will wear heels as well. I said that if my husband is not invited because of his height, I'm not coming to her wedding. She said that the day is about her and not about me, and my husband and I should respect her wishes about her day. She said she counts on me as her maid of honor and I can't do this to her. I told her she is being shallow and that's either me and my husband or none of us. I spoke about it with my husband and he thinks I'm not the arsehole and actually would think it would be bad of me to agree with my friend. However, he doesn't like her that much. She doesn't know that, so it couldn't play a role in it. So I'm not sure if his opinion is really objective. I asked my friend and she said I'm an arsehole because it's just one day and it's about the bride, so I shouldn't make a drama out of it. So perhaps I am the arsehole because I'm focusing on me being there with my husband and not what the bride wants. And there's a couple of small updates on this one which we'll cover after the comments, but can we get a bridezilla in the chat? And you are totally right, that's incredibly shallow of someone, and I think myself, if that was to happen to me, I'd really question someone's friendship if they criticised my partner's height like that and said, you know, they're too short so they shouldn't come, or anything really. If they judge them in any way whatsoever like that, I'd really question that friendship. And what is with people and weddings when they say, oh, it's about my day, it's all about the bride and all this kind of thing? I know we say bridezilla, but what goes through their head saying, like, I can do anything I want without consequence, I can judge anyone because it's my wedding day? Hell no. Hell no. But we'll check out some comments to see what they say. And we'll start with Stoat King saying, not the arsehole. You and your husband are 100% correct. What on earth did you think your response would be? I think both of us or neither of us is entirely fair. For someone who is about to get married, she seemed to have an odd idea of what marriage entails. You can't have it both ways. It sounds like she is essentially saying, my marriage is important, not yours. And Moira Roses Crow says, not the arsehole, I would completely ditch this person as a friend. And I don't know what to write here says, not the arsehole, and she's not a real friend. I'll tell her you're not going unless she has a real heartfelt apology, you're not going to be friends anymore. And DF says, not the arsehole, a couple is one, excluding one because of some superficial trait is offensive and wrong. Replace height with weight, or physical deformity, or scar, or race. And Sweet Journalist says, you're the arsehole if you continue to remain friends with someone so shallow. And Katie the Kate says, not the arsehole, I was fully prepared to come on here and vote differently, because I assumed there would be an actual reason why she wouldn't want your husband there. But holy moly, someone else who says it, is she planning for your husband to be in every single picture? From my experience, the SOs of the bridal party are maybe in the 2 to 3 shots of the whole day. She's being incredibly rude and shallow, and you don't need to deal with that. And before we move on, we'll cover the updates. That says, edit, thank you for your voting. I got so many I can't respond to you all. I now see that I was not in the wrong to tell her that's either both of us or none of us at all. Edit 2, update, after all the support I got there, I am making a move. I wrote her a text saying that I understand that a wedding can be stressful and she wants it perfect, but that really hurt me, what she wanted from me. I wrote that I am standing to what I said, and unless my husband is invited, I am not coming. I wrote I want to be there for her and help her as the maid of honour, but I can't do that if she has superficial demands. And now let's move on to the next story. And this story is from Lucky Technician 760. Am I the arsehole for taking my son to my daughter's concert instead of my wife? I've been married to my wife Ellie for 10 years, since my daughter Amy 13 female was 3, and we have a son together 4 male. Recently my daughter Amy's orchestra has started doing in-person rehearsals again, and this Saturday they had a concert. Since a lot of people were coming, everyone got 2 tickets for their family, and the director gave Amy and some of the other kids 4 tickets. Presumably so they could invite their step-parents too. The only problem is that Ellie and my ex don't get along, and my ex has been complaining to me ever since she found out that Ellie got a ticket too. I didn't want their conflict to ruin Amy's concert, so I told my wife that it would be better if my son went with me to the concert. She seemed disappointed, but she said okay. After the concert, Amy asked me where Ellie was, and I told her that my ex didn't want her there. She was really disappointed and got mad at my ex for keeping Amy out. My ex is angry that I got between her and Amy's relationship and says that she was just venting and I overstepped by telling Ellie that she shouldn't come to the concert. Ellie has also been cold to me since I told her she shouldn't come. Am I the arsehole? And we'll start with Chiquita Banana Kush saying, you're the arsehole. Doesn't matter what your ex wants. Amy had 4 tickets and she gave 1 ticket to her stepmom. You're the arsehole for uninviting your wife without asking your daughter. By the way, you married Ellie, not your ex. She comes first between the 2. And Dear Analysis says, everyone sucks here. The 2 of them couldn't play grown up long enough to get through the concert. Yeah, Amy is her mum, but she's your ex-wife. Why have you been married to Ellie for 10 years? And Heather Kiwi says, you're the arsehole. It was your daughter's concert and she invited your wife. You overstepped and took the ticket away from her and gave it to your son. Honestly, you should be standing up for your wife to your ex, as it's been 10 years. You all could have been there for the sake of what your daughter wanted and got along for the concert. You should apologise to your wife and your daughter. Conscious Card says, you're the arsehole, you chose your ex over your wife. And Layla Chris says, you're the arsehole, your wife has been in your daughter's life for 10 years and you still can't stand up to your ex for her. And 10019 Reddit says, you're the arsehole for involving your daughter in your ex drama, and a massive you're the arsehole for putting your ex's wishes ahead of your wife's. You putting your daughter in the middle is making it worse for everyone. It also seems like your eagerness to appease your ex, you hurt your daughter. A sad situation for your wife and your daughter. Once again guys, thank you for being here today. I hope you did enjoy today's stories, and if you did, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too, as it all truly helps out our channel and I can never express that enough. And if you'd like to support this channel further, you absolutely can, but as always, never any pressure to do so by clicking that join button down below for YouTube or clicking the link in the description for Patreon and joining up there. Thank you so much for your love, your time and your support, and I will see you, I hope so anyway, in the next one. Take care guys, much love.